Yeah, yeah,
My channel's on.
yeah. Oh wait, hold on. Let me refresh that. We are live. Hold on. All
Where,
right.
I was like, where did you go?
Okay, let me see. Okay, it says it's streaming.
Okay. So, for anybody that's coming on in or going to watch this replay, we're going to play the Iowa hearing that happened earlier today. I watched it while it was live. Y'all are going to be like, what? Mm-hmm. So, anyway, they're trying to schedule one Kratom in Iowa.
Insane.
Okay.
This guy. This guy looks like he probably takes a couple of decanters of whiskey to bed every night.
Dude, you know what? When I was watching this, I was thinking to myself, I wonder how many of these legislators are going to go to the bar tonight to go celebrate St. Patrick's Day with green beer.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's what I
their
was
Irish
wondering.
whiskey.
Yep, yep.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House. House File 2133 is a bill for designating Kratom as a Schedule I controlled substance in Iowa and making penalties applicable. We must classify Kratom as a scheduled drug due to undeniable public health risks and escalating safety concerns. There are several health risks. Kratom poses significant dangers, including addiction and potentially fatal overdose. Users frequently suffer from serious side effects like respiratory depression and liver damage. This is not merely a matter of personal choice. It endangers the health of our communities. The current lack of scheduling allows an ever-increasing sales of Kratom products to Iowans of all ages, often contaminated or adulterated. Absent better scientific study and stringent quality control, consumers are left vulnerable to dangerous substances. Scheduling Kratom is essential to enforce safety standards that protect Iowans from these harmful products. There's a growing public safety crisis with the abuse of Kratom. Increasing reports of emergency room visits and fatalities linked to Kratom are on the rise, up 120% year over year in Iowa. 120% year over year. Nationally, 0.3% of babies have tested positive for mitragynine, born into addiction. This is a public safety crisis that cannot be ignored. By designating Kratom as a controlled substance, Iowa can take a leading role and a decisive action to avert further tragedies, curb misuse, and avoid crisis. The Iowa Medical Society, the AMA, the Iowa Pediatric Society, Iowa Mental Health Alliance, every law enforcement agency that steps into this building, and the Iowa County attorneys have all asked that we take this action. I'd like to share some comments from some other folks who would like us to take action on this item in this fashion.
You're on mute.
Damn it, I was talking to myself. Okay.
You hear him sniffing?
Huh?
He keeps sniffing in that microphone, dude.
I'm pausing it right here because I want you folks to know that the testimonies that he's about to read, those folks do not live in the state of Iowa. So if you live in the state of Iowa, this should piss you the hell off. Because these testimonies that he's about to read, they get pissed off when we advocate in their states. So if you live in the state of Iowa, pay attention to these testimonies. They do not live there. But he took it upon himself to read these emails that he got. So if you're an Iowan, get pissed off.
My son Austin was 25 years old. On December 6, 2023, he died alone in his bedroom After using a kratom product he believed was safe because it was sold legally and marked as natural. He was not seeking to get high. He believed he was using a legal herbal product to manage pain and function day to day. The medical examiner ruled the cause of death mitragynine intoxication. Families like mine don't have the luxury of debating categories like natural or synthetic or partially restricted. What matters is whether the door stays open or finally closes. As long as kratom remains legal in any form, that door stays open. And more families will walk through it believing legality means safety, just as my son did. My daughter Keely died March 1st, 2025 of mitragynine overdose. She was only 23. Because she was so young, they had to do an investigation. After an autopsy and toxicology screen was performed, mitragynine overdose was determined to be the factor of death. She trusted the word natural. Kylie used the natural kratom powder. She believed it was safe to use for pain because that's how the industry markets it. I'm a resident of Harlan, Iowa. Our family has spent the last 3 years fighting alongside our son to defeat his serious addiction to kratom. Our son is currently undergoing his second stay in rehabilitation at Betty Ford. A high school standout, my son headed to college on a full-ride Division I scholarship to play football. Little did we know our son was developing a full-blown addiction and dependence on kratom. The signs became obvious in the second semester of his first year. Once quite sociable, his friends had not heard from him in months. He no longer called home like he did months ago. He dropped out of school and signed away his full-ride scholarship. He's on day 4 of his second visit to rehab. We pray that he will beat this. It has cost him 3 years of his life. I'm emailing you today because I want to make sure no other parent has to bury their child from the gas station drug called kratom. Matthew was 22 years old. He was healthy. He had no underlying medical conditions. He did not have prescription drugs, illegal drugs, or alcohol in his system, yet he had a seizure and went into cardiac arrest and died. His autopsy and toxicology reports were clear. He died from the toxic effects of mitragynine, the primary alkaloid found only in kratom. This was a whole leaf kratom, the least potent form widely available in the United States. His death was not caused by 7-OH or any semi-synthetic derivative. It was caused by the kratom leaf itself. People in the kratom industry and some advocates will say restricting kratom will push people to worse drugs. The argument is speculative and fear-based. Public health must respond to documented harms, not hypotheticals. What is documented are dependence, emergency department visits, and deaths involving whole leaf kratom, mitragynine. My son's autopsy is one of those cases. Mr. Speaker, there are amendments.
I should unmute myself before I pause it. So, like I said, those people that wrote in the testimonies, except for the one that lives in Iowa, I have an idea who that is, but they don't live in Iowa. But for some reason, that's who this sponsor of this bill decided to use to make his bill sound like it's doing, the good for the public, and all that stuff.
They've only been using the whole, it was powder.
Yeah.
They've only been saying that lately since 7-OH. I'm telling you, 7-OH is their best friends.
Yeah.
Anti-kratom people, it's their best friends right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes all of kratom look bad.
And these anti-7-OHers, they all are involved or will be involved in lawsuits.
Yeah.
I have proof that they are being funded with seed money from an anti-kratom trial attorney. So if you live in Iowa, this should piss you the fuck off.
Yeah.
Get off your ass and advocate. The next step should be the Senate. So y'all need to,
Yeah, because this does not end well.
Y'all need to make a fuss.
Big fuss.
All right, here we go.
The clerk call up the First Amendment. H 8163 by Bradley F. Jones.
Chair recognizes Representative Bradley for opening remarks, Amendment H 8163.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for unanimous consent to withdraw H 8163.
I have no idea what that amendment was to withdraw.
Chair recognizes the Chief Clerk for the following amendment.
H 8168 by Sorensen of Adair.
Now here comes
Recognizes
common
Representative Sorensen
sense.
for Amendment H 8168.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's an amendment to the amendment.
Will the clerk call up the next amendment?
H 8176 by Sorensen of Adair.
Chair recognizes Representative Sorensen for opening remarks, Amendment H 8176.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This amendment clarifies and fixes some of the problems in the First Amendment, and I'll reserve my comments for when we're back on that amendment, but I would ask the body to vote aye on this amendment.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Representative Sorensen for closing remarks on Amendment H 8176.
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to reserve most of my comments for when we get back on my amendment, and I would ask for a division in a record.
Representative Sorensen moves Amendment H 8176, requests a division in a record. It's now a record roll call vote. The clerk will open the machine. And seconded by Representative Stone. It's now a record roll call vote. The clerk will open the machine. See your vote.
Yeah, was confusing to me.
Yeah, they're just voting in the amendment.
But that dude that just stood up, he got sense.
Yeah. You folks in Iowa need to get off your ass and fight.
Jones votes no. Moore of Scott votes no. Johnson of Polk votes aye. Crokin votes aye. Have you all now voted? Clerk close the machine. The House pay attention to results of the vote. Those voting aye, 63. Those voting no, 32. Absent, not voting 5. The amendment is adopted. We are now back on Amendment H 8168. Do you request further opening comments on this amendment, Representative?
Please.
Chair recognizes Representative Sorensen for opening remarks on 8168.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, what is kratom? It comes from a tree in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. People in those regions have used the leaves for centuries, primarily as chewed leaf or tea. I want to start by saying that I do not doubt the stories we're hearing. When a parent says their child struggled with addiction or someone says a substance harmed their life, those stories deserve to be taken seriously. But the responsibility we have as legislators is to decide what policy will actually reduce harm going forward. In my view, regulating the marketplace, ensuring testing, labeling, age restrictions will do more to protect Iowans than placing kratom into Schedule I and pushing the entire market underground. When we write laws, we have to look at the broader policy. What actually reduces harm? Alcohol ruins lives. Gambling ruins lives. Prescription drugs ruin lives. Yet those are regulated, not banned. Many of the concerns we're hearing involve products with unknown potency, contaminated ingredients, or youth access. Schedule I is the most severe classification in our drug laws. Before placing a plant into that category alongside heroin, we should be absolutely certain that prohibition is the right approach. Again, Schedule I is reserved for substances like heroin and LSD. Those substances, the law says, have high abuse potential, have no acceptable use, have no safe use, even under medical supervision. Meanwhile, millions of Americans already use kratom. It's estimated 10 to 15 million Americans use kratom. Whether we like it or not, kratom is already widely used across the entire country. And worldwide, thousands have been using it for years, or millions have been using it for thousands of years. We should carefully consider whether the position will actually solve the problem or simply push the market underground. Prohibition removes safety controls. Right now, if kratom remains legal, products can be tested, labels can be required, age restrictions can be enforced. If it becomes Schedule I, the legal market disappears. Products move to black markets, there's zero testing, there's no consumer protection. If our concern is safety, banning the product entirely may actually make it less safe. Regulation is the approach many states are taking. Several states have banned kratom, only to see it cause an increase in overdose and use, and they are now clawing it back to regulation, recognizing that regulation is a more responsible path than prohibition. We should protect the youth. I absolutely believe kratom products should be restricted to adults. We already do this with alcohol, tobacco, and other substances. Government should be careful about policing adult choices. I believe the government has a role in protecting public safety, especially when it comes to minors. But when it comes to adults making decisions about legal products, we should be cautious about expanding criminal prohibitions. We need to target the real problem, unsafe products. Again, the biggest concerns appear to be contaminated products and misleading labeling. Those are regulatory problems, not prohibition problems. If the concern is dangerous products entering the market, then the responsible solution is to regulate the marketplace. I understand there is a concern that there is not a simple roadside test for kratom or 7-OH. That is not unique to kratom, and is not how Iowa handles most drug-impaired driving cases. Iowa law already prohibits driving under the influence, and DPS already uses recognition experts to identify impairment. Again, the real question before us is whether we regulate the marketplace responsibly. Also, something to keep in mind, scheduling it does not create a better roadside test. I believe the question before us is what policy response will actually reduce harm. Those are my opening comments.
Is there discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Vondran.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Respectfully, I disagree with Representative Sorensen. Once again, we reference those that would be in charge of testing, and they say it's too hot to handle. The IMA, the AMA, the Iowa Pediatric Society, the Iowa Mental Health Society, and everyone involved in law enforcement, including those in county attorney offices across the state. I respectfully request the body to resist this amendment.
Chair recognizes Representative Gosa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I rise in support of this amendment. I think it's very practical to regulate this versus doing the outright ban on it. Again, as Representative Sorensen mentioned, it'll create an underground market that we already will start seeing when we see it, related to other things. So I think this is a good, logical step to do this, and I would ask everyone to vote in favor of this amendment.
Chair recognizes Representative Golding.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of this amendment. My grandmother was a nurse during the Prohibition, and she talked about the alcohol deaths. They were deaths because alcohol was tainted with wood alcohol, with methanol, and people died. It was not regulated, it was underground, but it didn't stop it. This is something we need to regulate, that we need to know that those products, they are not going to the children, that it does not shove it underground, that it forces purity in the products, it forces testing in the products, it forces people who have grown to depend on it to understand that they can count on it being a pure product and not something tainted with something that's going to kill them. And again, I rise in support of the amendment. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Crokin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the House. I too rise in support of the amendment. Banning a product does not protect us from its most adverse effects, and regulating it does allow us to manage this in a way that is acceptable to society, and I support the amendment. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Jurdy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Iowa House. I support Amendment 8168. At its core, this amendment reflects what good policymaking is supposed to look like. It has a clear purpose by addressing how a policy will actually function once it becomes law. Amendment 8168 makes several important improvements. It clarifies key definitions so there's a shared understanding of what the legislation requires. It tightens legislation around kratom by reducing ambiguity. It creates a more consistent framework for the policy and how it will be applied across the state. It may sound like technical changes, but they matter because ambiguity in statute doesn't stay in statute. It shows up in inconsistent application. Confusion among those responsible for implementation and ultimately unequal outcomes for the people that we serve. This amendment helps prevent that. It ensures that when this law is put into practice, it's done so with clarity and consistency and not guesswork. It reduces the likelihood of unintended consequences and helps this legislation align to real-world impact with its intended purpose. Amendment 8168 does all of this while preserving the core intent of what we should be accomplishing, regulation versus outright ban. There needs to be more research, but this amendment makes certain that it can only be sold in establishments which are restricted to 21 years and over. Our children will no longer be allowed to go into a gas station and purchase any Kratom product. This is exactly the kind of work that we should be doing in this chamber. Too often the focus of debate is solely on whether we agree or disagree with the goal of the bill. But equally important is whether the bill is written in a way that actually achieves that goal in practice. Good policy is not just about what we intend, it's about what happens when the law is applied day in and day out. This amendment reflects careful consideration, stakeholder feedback, and a willingness to improve the legislation before us. It demonstrates that we are taking seriously our responsibility to not just pass laws, but to pass laws that are clear, effective, workable, and good policy. In the end, that's what people of Iowa expect from us. Not perfection, but diligence. Not just action, but thoughtful action. For those reasons, I urge the body to adopt Amendment 8168.
Chair recognizes Representative Barker.
I'm gonna pause it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Because you know what? Because our antis love their alcohol. And
Yeah,
what
they do.
what they fail to realize is that the reason why prohibition was overturned was because of the deaths from the unregulated alcohol that they love to drink today.
Yep.
So yes, deaths happen in the unregulated markets. And I love the fact that these folks right here stood up and said, I rise to support the amendment.
I mean, it was going great.
Yeah.
You know, all these people are talking sense, making sense.
So you folks in Iowa, man, I'm telling you, you need to rise. You need to stand up and get pissed off.
Yeah. Because it ain't looking good.
Because folks looking for a payout is trying to get it banned in your state so that when they go to court, they can say, looky here, the state of Iowa deems it as a public crisis. Let's fluff up my lawsuit.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I wasn't planning to comment, but since we're having a robust conversation, I will weigh in on this. I actually filed a regulatory bill last session because when I got here, I knew at the local level the significant problem this product causes. I see the abandoned gas stations with the neon signs near our schools, hear from parents in my community that have had loved ones enter the hospital and pass away because of this product. But as I dug more into it, regulation to some people will send a signal that it's okay. The cat will be out of the bag. We're not going to get it back in the bag. As a pharmacist, it's often challenging to counsel patients on natural products. You know, people think natural means safe. We don't have randomized clinical trials for natural products, and so we have to say, what are the known benefits and expected benefits? What are the known risks? Well, we have a product here with known risk that's habit-forming, that's addictive, that can cause fatal complications, and at the end of the day, I don't think that we need to send a signal that this should be able to be picked up on our gas station shelves in this state anymore, and we need to protect our kids, so I would urge.
Sorry, I'm having to stop a lot.
Protect the kids.
There's a huge difference between habit forming and addictive.
Yep.
That's a huge difference. And you're a pharmacist up there saying that stuff? This is what
It
I'm saying.
usually is the pharmacist, though.
You know, well, yeah, because, I proudly say this all the time. You know, Kratom keeps me from the damn pharmacy.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I don't go every month like I did for 11 years straight. I am not paying. My suffering is no longer paying their retirement fund. You know? And it's like, and for him, this really irks me. This really irks me. When they say that, you know, passing regulations makes it look like it's safe, that we're saying it's safe. What the fuck y'all do to alcohol?
Yeah.
Y'all passed regulations.
And you can buy as much alcohol as you want to. There is no limit at all.
Like, even though cannabis is legal in my state for medical and recreational, I'm allowed to buy 1 ounce per day.
Yeah.
But alcohol, I could go, I don't freaking drink anymore, you know, but I could go in and buy as much as I want to.
You could buy as much to kill like an entire family. I mean, I'm not even joking. Like at one time and leave that store and still come back later on in the evening to buy even more.
Yep.
It makes no sense, dude. It makes no sense.
Just be, you know, they're talking about regulations and saying that it makes it look to their constituents, that it makes it look like they're approving it or saying that it's safe for public, you know, for the public to use.
It sounds like that sounds like something like a kid would make up.
Yeah.
Like this just doesn't make any sense. Like when you hear somebody say it.
And it's like, no, you're proving to your constituents that you care about regulations.
Yeah.
You care that adults can make decisions for what they put in their body. You care that it's a safe product. The fuck out of here.
Urge the body to resist the amendment.
Man.
Go
Chair
shave your
recognizes
beard,
Representative
bro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the House. Like Representative Barker, I hadn't really planned to speak, but I related this to our caucus and my caucus a couple weeks ago. Just wanted to relate it to the full body. A few years ago, I had a conversation with Andrew Allen, who's the executive director of YSS. He's been in recovery now for 25 years. He told me that when he was young and in the prime of his addiction, he used pot a whole lot more than he ever used beer.
What?
And that's because beer was regulated. Beer, you had to have an ID, and it wasn't always easy to come up with fake IDs like it is now.
Well, how do you get the pot?
Or you could ask somebody you had to ask somebody to buy it for you.
He don't know.
So it was a whole lot harder to get to because it was regulated. So I appreciate Representative Sorensen's position here. And I don't want to say it's without merit, because it is. There's merit to this approach to regulating. But I can't support it because of another conversation I had with my own son. And this is the issue, and this is the problem with regulating it and saying it's okay, but only okay for someone who's over 21.
That's what you do with alcohol.
Yeah.
One of the reasons my son kept telling himself it's okay to do pot, it's okay to smoke that joint, is because states had regulated it. At the time, President Obama had said, there's nothing wrong with smoke a little pot. It's fine.
Nothing wrong with it.
For most people, it might be okay.
Most people.
But he was 14, 15, 16 at the time, and the fact that it had been regulated, it had been legalized, and it said it was okay.
Your son wasn't old enough.
You kids know, but it's okay for adults. That, in his mind, made it fine for him. And you've all heard the stories from me about where that led him.
Where did it lead him?
So that's why I stand and urge the body to resist this amendment, because ban on a substance that does this, just regulating and saying it's okay for someone under 21, someone over 21 to do it, just tells the young people it's okay too.
What the heck?
So, again, I urge the body to resist this amendment. Representative Sorensen, I appreciate your approach. I'm not trying to say you're wrong. So, but thank you.
That's just like, you know, I couldn't wait till I turned 21.
Representative Sorensen for closing remarks, Amendment H 8168.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Quick note on the dangers. The CDC has found kratom in some overdose deaths, but almost all involved multiple substances.
Yes, indeed.
In fact, only a handful of cases have ever showed kratom alone. And even those aren't clearly proven as the cause of death.
Yep.
That's why it's smart regulation targeting bad actors is the more effective way than a blanket ban. Schedule 1 is not a magic wand. Kratom does not disappear after it. You end up with an unregulated Wild West with doing nothing and going to Schedule 1. My amendment responsibly regulates kratom, and I ask that you would support the amendment and ask for a division in record.
Representative Sorensen moves Amendment H8168, requested division record, second by Meyer of Polk. This is now a record. Roll call vote. The clerk open machine. CV vote.
Dude, hold on. I'm reading the article that just came out.
Okay. For Iowa?
Yep. And guess what it says? Vondran said, reading the letter. Wait, hold on. So the bill's floor manager called for the substance to be scheduled because it puts Iowans at risk of addiction and potentially fatal overdose. Vondran read messages from family members of 4 Iowans who died or are in substance abuse rehabilitation programs for issues related to kratom use. They read letters from a guy that lives in Ohio, from a girl that lives in Michigan, and from another girl that lives in Idaho.
Yep. And once again, the journalist writing doesn't get the facts straight. But it does seem to be that way when he presents it.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Did he know? Did he know that those other 3 people lived out of state?
More than likely not.
Did the antis include what state they lived in when they wrote them the emails?
Bet they didn't.
But I'm telling you guys, they get freaking pissed when we are advocating in hearings behind the scenes. They get mad that we come in out of state. And they accuse us of being paid.
I was about to say that exact same thing. Like, no, we are not getting paid. We do this because we do it for people, for other people, to keep it legal for everybody. There's millions of people that, a lot of people can't even, testify. They're working. They're living life. They have no idea it's at risk for being taken away. It's not because we're paid. Get out of here with that.
If I was paid, I would proudly say I'm being paid, but I ain't to do what I do.
Like, why would that even be something to lie about?
I do this on my own free will, my own free time. I put all the energy, effort, and time and all this to go to all these different state hearings, go to all these different city hearings, all these Board of Health hearings, all this stuff. And it's increased since July.
Yep.
Ever since the FDA, HHS, and DEA, gave that press conference about scheduling 7OH, that's when all the hearings increased behind the scenes.
Yeah. And most of it's because they're not differentiating.
Mm-hmm.
Because they literally did not watch the damn press conference. Or they were just not paying attention.
What we hear a lot if these people in these locality hearings, some of them will go to their local smoke shops or gas stations or what have you. They will literally say that kratom was pushed out and 7OH was pushed in.
Yeah, and it's not because of profits. It's because that's what people are going to the smoke shops for.
Yeah,
is 7OH products. I mean, that speaks volumes.
And because 7OH was mass produced, and called a kratom product, they're all lumping it together. Mm-hmm. So they're thinking that people in their communities are having problems with kratom. No, how the fuck are they having problems with kratom when kratom is no longer in the damn shops?
Exactly.
7OH.
Ain't nothing natural about 7OH either.
No. Just a freaking chemical in a tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Weldon votes aye. Moore of Scott votes no. Johnson of Polk votes aye. Jones votes no. Jacoby votes aye. Have you all now voted? Clerk, close the machine. The House pay attention to the results of the vote. Those voting aye, 44. Those voting no, 51. Absent or not voting, 5. The amendment has failed. Clerk, call up the next amendment.
H 8202 by Jurdy of Lynn.
Chair recognizes Representative Jurdy for opening remarks. Amendment H 8202.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask for unanimous consent to withdraw this amendment.
Are there objections? Hearing none, so ordered.
I don't know what that
That
amendment
disposes
was
of all
either.
amendments. The chair, or that's, we are now in discussion on House File 2133. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, the chair recognizes Representative Vonder for closing remarks on House File 2133.
Thank you again, Mr. Speaker. In conclusion, classifying kratom as a scheduled drug is not just a precaution, it's a necessary action to safeguard the health and safety of all Iowans. The severe health risks, the out-of-control availability, and the rising public safety concerns demand our immediate attention. By taking this step, we can implement crucial safety standards, protect our communities from harmful substances, and align with national efforts to address substance abuse effectively. Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the hundreds of families that have been adversely affected by kratom, I move House File 2133.
Representative Vonder moves House File 2133 read for the last time and placed on its passage. The objections? Hearing none, the clerk will read.
House File 2133, a bill for an act designing kratom as a Schedule I controlled substance and making penalties applicable be enacted by the General Assembly of the State of Iowa.
Question now, shall the bill pass? All in favor of passage vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the machine. See your vote. Jones votes aye. Dunwell votes aye.
Insane.
Weldon votes aye.
Insane.
Moore Scott votes aye. Jacoby votes aye.
They all got duped into this bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
knowingly or unknowingly.
Dude, that makes me sick.
Clerk, close machine. The House pay attention to the results of the vote. Those voting aye, 69. Those voting no, 26. Absent or not voting, 5. The bill received a constitutional majority. Is declared to pass the House. There objection to the title? The chair
There you
hears
go.
none. The title is agreed to. Chair recognizes Representative Bowden for opening remarks on House File 2686.
Okay, now we gotta go get ready to go
Speaker,
testify in another
House File
hearing.
2686
Yeah.
is a provisional.
All right. Well,
Y'all seen
that's
there?
it.
Y'all saw the Iowa hearing. It still irks me that, and then reading what the journalist wrote. 4 Iowan families? No. One was from Ohio. One was from Idaho. The other one was from Michigan.
So
So-
sad.
Folks need to pay attention to what the American Kratom Association will post up about what to do next. Y'all better get off your asses.
Yeah, start hitting up them senators or whoever the hell it is. I don't know. I mean, there's so many, each state is different, but yeah, be on the lookout and raise hell.
Mm-hmm. We'll be live streaming tomorrow too, so y'all be on the lookout for that.
Yeah. All
So-
right. Bye, everybody.
We're off to go testify in another hearing.